I'm going to try to do this as best I can. I'm not an amazing writer that's going to turn this into a million paragraphs. So I'm just sitting in my office here wondering if I can make a video and unfortunately try to relive this situation for you. So to get started, I guess we went to the outdoor travel dealer there in Beamsville. It's around the corner from our house. It's a big, beautiful place. Um, to sum it all up, bounced back between places. I think the big deal was that there was this specific camper, I guess, the Bunkhouse 26 footer or whatever. It was just a good shape for what we wanted. There was a couple that were really close, and I kind of had a list of what I want. So the only thing that was a problem was there was a curtain on the door, and all the other campers, there was a curtain on the little bedroom area, and all the other campers had a door. So I asked if they could put on a door, and they said, I'm just assuming it was easy enough. I mean, there was lots of other campers that had doors. So that was kind of our agreement in the deal for the last thing to purchase. And they said, great. So we signed all the papers and did the deposit or whatever and moved on. I don't know. We were a couple months away from our trip, so I thought we were in good time. But, it had been probably 3 weeks after that. I'd never even heard back from them. So I went back in and I'm asking around, and it didn't seem like anyone even knew what I was talking about as far as the door. So I kind of pushed just to get an ultimatum of, are we doing this or are we not? And they were looking into it, I guess. About a week later, I went in again, and I was told, yeah, don't worry, we'll get that door in. We're good. It's ordered. And I'm not sure anything was ever ordered. But basically, I was told then, we're not going to be able to do the door. So, you're out of luck and you're going to have to go find another camper. And now we're, I don't even know at that point, maybe a month away from this trip. And, and there was something else that was there, and I'm thinking to myself, well, I mean, I solve problems all the time. I got to be able to put this door in myself if these people can't do it. So I kind of had some discussions and kind of to bring it all to a roundabout, decided that it wouldn't be that big of a deal to put in a door. And if they weren't going to do it, I would do it. Because I did like this camper. And I think the whole time the concept of how it was sold to me on how Grand Design is just better. It's just a higher quality. This camper is just a better camper than these other companies. And that's what, when they set out as a company, that's what they wanted to be. And that was sold to me. And honestly, I want to trust people. And that's kind of the reason why I progressed ahead. I figured I'll just do the door myself. So we kind of finished up with the deal and the paperwork, and I bought the warranty because I knew that, driving a giant movable box, over time wasn't probably, the best. And I'm sure with all the shaking and rattling and turning and cranking that, you would run into some problems. So I thought that was a good idea. Anyway, so by the time this whole process comes, we're getting this camper and we're like a week or two away from our trip by the time we actually pick this thing up, just to try to summarize the whole in between there. Which wasn't great because I was hoping to take it on a drive and, kind of get a handle for it. Because I honestly have never driven a camper before. So I didn't really get that wonderful of an opportunity to do that. But I felt like this was going to suit us. We'd never done camping before. I have a wife and I have 4 kids. We needed the bunkhouse, we needed the space, and this was this adventure that we decided we were going to go on. And I bought a new SUV, a Suburban, something that could tow a camper like this, and invested in this. And it was really, it was really a tough thing for me to do because it was just such a process. But we'd committed to doing this trip, and I committed to investing, quite a bit of money, thinking that, that this was maybe something we were going to do, right? I didn't want to buy too expensive or too higher end of a camper, or, or too big of a camper in case it was just terrible. And I hated every second of it. But I was hoping that didn't happen. I was hoping this could become a regular part of our life. We're kind of outdoorsy type of people, and I thought this would just be a neat family scenario. So, as I was picking it up, I went through everything and did all that and tried my best to understand it. And one thing to mention to get to later is, so I asked the guy, so can I put one of those square, brackets on the back that has like the little hitch attachment? Because I like to put on a little bike rack on here. And he says, oh yeah, you could do that. You don't want to pile a ton of weight. And I says, okay. So as we were getting ready to go and getting all this stuff synced up and getting it loaded up, I decided that I was going to, we were going for 2 months, so I decided just to bring my kids' little bikes and not bring the adult bikes, thinking that might be too much weight. I wasn't 100% sure, but I didn't want to have to deal with things on this trip just because this was all so new to me. Having things broken would not have been something that I wanted to deal with, though I did bring a whole container full of tools just in case, because I am a tool and a construction guy. So anyway, we get off on our trip and we're heading up into North Bay and then Northern Ontario, and gotta be literally the first week I'm noticing I have all these issues getting the stairs up and getting it to lock, and I don't know why. And then I start to see that the stairs themselves are slipping, and I'm looking and there's just the heads of screws that have snapped right off. So luckily, at this point, I'm kind of noticing, because I'm not always the one putting up. We're working as a team, packing up and stuff like that. And I'm noticing I have 1 screw left. So I look in my tools and my fasteners that I brought, hoping I have something for this. And all I had was kind of like these little deck screws. So I was hoping I could back the last screw up just to see the length and stuff, just so I didn't pierce anything. And unscrewing that screw snapped the head off. So I now had no screws, the first week of our trip, inside of the ladder. So I kind of went in and I found what I have, and I kind of tried to set the ladder in a place that I thought. I didn't have washers, I didn't have the best screws, but I did what I could to refasten the stairs. And I thought to myself, well, this can't be a good omen. This is such a great company with such a good product, and my stairs are about to fall off in week number 1. And I think that one we started in North Bay, and I started without regular power. And I wasn't sure because I'd never done this before, but it just seemed like, man, I had to run a generator for a long time, just to kind of make sure that we had power. In time, we started to find out, like, I'm pretty sure that this battery was bad right from the get-go, because there were times when, like, if I was not on actual constant plugged-in power, that, I'd be driving with my vehicle, for 5 hours, pull in somewhere, park it, set everything up, whatever, unplug from power, and, in 2 or 3 hours, everything would be flashing, like telling me, on the thermostat there that this thing's about to die. And I'm thinking to myself, my gosh, like, you got to get more than 2 or 3 hours. So, as the trip progressed, we're literally sitting there in the dark using DeWalt flashlights, to try to play a game of cards, because we're trying to get the battery to last more than, a few hours. And sometimes it was 2 or 3, and sometimes you got 4 or 5. It was just so up in the air. It got to the point where, if we were doing in between days or truck stop things, and I was literally staying up to run the vehicle plugged into the camper, until, from 11 until 12, thinking that hopefully I could make it through the night. So it was, yeah. And then I'm waking up and I'm doing the auto start on the car and basically using the Suburban to power the camper to get through the night, so that I could actually get a good night's sleep. And if we weren't in, I don't know what they call it, shore power, that's literally what I was doing. which, wasn't fantastic because you're sleeping in a camper with 4 little kids and your wife, and it's not like it's dynamic sleeping situations as it is, you know. But gosh, I mean, we were roughing it, but we weren't really roughing it. That's why we spent all this money. So we didn't have to. And I just felt like I wasn't getting what I should have been getting. And gosh, it was just bothering me. So, I mean, there are other things that happened, like, the air conditioning, I felt like it didn't work at all. If it was 75 and you set it to 72 on a hot day, or even a reasonably hot day, you literally sat in there and it ran for every minute of every day just to, I mean, it didn't even go down almost. It was almost like it, because I'm in the construction business, it's almost like it needed a boost of some kind because the gas in it was just not right. It didn't cool down anything, and I'm thinking like this tiny little box that's smaller than my bedroom, like you could put in a window air conditioner and it would be cold in 5 minutes. So just, I didn't feel like that worked. And honestly, like the heat was fine. It worked fine. Like we were up north in Canada early on in June and it was cold, and the problem is that there was only 3 heat ducts, one under the table, one in the master bedroom. And then there's one in the bathroom behind the toilet. And all of the hot air came out of the one in the bathroom behind the toilet. And there was no damper to try to dampen that so that it'll come out of the other places. So pretty much, you had to leave the bathroom door open at night in order to just get some of that heat to go into the rest of the camper so that you didn't freeze. We weren't sure that it was going to be that cold, or we didn't think it would be that cold in northern Ontario in early June, but boy, it was. And I mean, the heat worked. I'm not going to say it didn't work, but I think in a design scenario, that's the duct right behind the toilet in the bathroom that you have to leave the door open. It just wasn't ideal at all. So anyway, we progressed and we did our very best and we made good of everything that we could do. And I mean, we were out there camping. We were meant to rough it. That's what we planned on doing. So, we're out there and we're doing it. There was a point to where now we've went through kind of Canada and we're coming back through the US and I end up in Wyoming and we pull off because we want to go, what's the place called? To Sonic. We saw a commercial that they have these dynamite burgers and the whole family was going. And it's lucky that we did because we pulled off specifically somewhere in Wyoming to go to Sonic to get a burger. And as we're sitting out back in this parking lot eating our burger, I'm looking at the bumper and it's off, it's wrong. And as I'm looking at it, it's tilted coming off and at that point it was about to fall off. And I didn't actually notice that until that point. So obviously maybe that happened on that drive where the welds had popped and the bikes were banging. Like the handlebars, I don't know how that worked, but they were actually hitting, like they're about a foot away from the back, but they were actually hitting the back panel with the handle grip. And the whole bumper was about to fall off. And it was 3 kids' bikes. So it wasn't incredibly full of weight. So we were blessed enough at that point to have a guy that was driving a truck through the drive-through of the Sonic, kind of where we were parked, and I looked and he had a real welder looking truck, and I talked to him and he says, well, I don't have my gear here, but I actually have a little shop. So we actually asked the people if we could sleep in the parking lot that night, because I took the bumper off and the bike rack and the tire and everything, and so we stayed in their parking lot. And then went to his shop in the morning so he could help weld our bumper back on, which kind of was a little bit of a unplanned event. So now we're driving with bikes inside of the camper because there's nowhere else we can put them. And our kids are, it's like the key to their whole time was riding these bikes through these parks, going up and down, riding down to the park or going swimming, or, like if we didn't bring these bikes, it would have been so awful. They loved the bike. So we did not want to, we left one behind, but we didn't want to leave the other ones behind. So we were actually putting them inside and trying to like pack foam and stuff around the bikes to protect the camper. And I mean, some of the magnets on the drawers were good and some of them were not good and didn't work at all. So as we're driving, the drawers are sliding out and they're hitting bike things, and it's really nicking up the millwork, which we're trying to be very careful to protect, right? And just now we're unloading bikes everywhere we go. It was something, so we get through our trip and we're on our last leg, and it's about week 6 or 7, and we're heading go to Darien Lake, which is kind of our last stop on our trip. And as we're coming into Pennsylvania, I think it was, or we were leaving Pennsylvania coming into, or we were leaving Ohio coming into Pennsylvania on our way up the side of the lake to Darien Lake, was one of those. My wife's driving and there's a noise and she gets like a wiggle. And I'm like, whoa, let your foot off the gas. Just slow down and pull off. We're in the right-hand lane. I don't know if we drove over 100 more than for, a few minutes out of the whole time. And she pulls off and I get out and I'm looking around at the thing and, and I don't know. I mean, I'm not a mechanic. I haven't owned a trailer. I'm kind of looking at the tires, looking around at the back. Like, I don't notice anything. So, the chauvinist that I am says, well, it's probably because she was driving and not me, So I say, well, why don't you get out and I'll take over. So I pull back onto the highway and I don't know, it just, I've driven this thing now for a lot of kilometers and there's just something that doesn't feel right. And, like it just feels like the back end feels loose. I don't know how to describe it, right? So we're driving and I'm looking in my rear views and the guy drives by us and he's like honking and giving me kind of these hand signals, and I'm looking in my rear view and then all I see is a tire, not just the tire, like the rim, the tire, everything. It comes rolling off the vehicle. Right where I think it is, right? So then I'm, again, foot off the gas. I'm going to pull over, and this tire rolls right all the way up with us by the time we stop and lands in the ditch right next to us. Right? So as you can imagine, oh gosh, I'm reliving this. This is fantastic. So I'm just like crapping myself, to be blunt. I get out and I go over and I look, and the tire and the center of the rim is just like ripped out and missing. And I've never seen anything like it in my whole life. And I've been driving trucks and trailers and stuff for, 30 years. So I go to the back and I'm looking and the tire is just missing. Right? And not only that, I'm looking at the other tire on that side. This is the ditch side of the camper, and like the rim looks like it's cracked and it's almost like not sitting properly. So at this point, this thing's hooked up to my vehicle with my family in it, right? So I'm like scrambling, I'm running around onto the highway side, I'm opening up my stuff, trying to get the bars and everything, and I throw some blocks down and I actually drop the cranks down to create, like, I don't know, whatever they call those things, to try to brace the side of the structure and take some of the pressure off, because every time a car drives by, the thing shakes the camper, and I think this thing's going to tip over and it's going to be just awful. Oh man, this is an experience, and my heart is just like pounding thinking about this right now. So, I don't know what to do. I think we ended up calling the cops. I don't know how long it was in the process and whatever, just to say, hey, can you come and try to just protect us? I don't know how this is going to work. Cop shows up and is trying to like park behind us and to make sure that the traffic is, because every transport truck it drives by, it's just shaking this thing. And I'm really afraid, right? But I don't want to have my whole family standing in a ditch on the side of the road. I'm not sure how to do it. So I start making calls, and I'm talking and strategizing with this cop. I'm making calls. We were there, and I sat pacing on the side of the highway for over 3 hours on a Sunday afternoon. And I made 17 phone calls. I made one call, and I'm looking stuff up on Google, emergency roadside campers, all this stuff. And no, I can't help you. Sorry, it's Sunday. I'm away at this. Oh, hey, have you thought of this guy? Call that guy. Oh, I don't have any tires. Maybe if you can find, like, it was a disaster. There's the manual and all of the stuff that we had when we purchased it, but it's in the camper, and I don't even know if I want to go inside of this. But after about 2 hours, we decided to go inside and quickly, like, try to get the information, because they told me, oh, don't worry, you're a part of this dealer network and all these great things with Grand Design. That's what you pay for, and all this extra stuff. And I find some numbers inside of this pamphlet, and I call it, and I'm talking to this person, and they're like, well, all I can do is coach you. We don't actually do anything. And he really wants to help me, but he's like, I'm sorry, we don't do any help. Is there any? And I don't know. I don't know what to do. I just need somebody that's got a tire they can put on or whatever. So at this point, I've been pacing around the vehicle so much, I'm on the other side of the vehicle, and I'm looking at those tires, and one of the rims on that side is like almost cracked like in a cross. And the other one looks like it's okay. I'm not 100% sure, right? I have one spare tire. I have one tire in the ditch. And I have two other rims that look like they're broken in a cross section. And finally, a guy calls me back and he says, I have 3 tires. I can come and do a switch out for you, but it's Sunday now afternoon at 6 or 7 o'clock. Nowhere's open. I'll show up. He shows up in this ambulance. What is it called? This is the thing here. And he's got this rig ambulance, and he shows up. Finally, it's now 3 hours. I'm just like crying on the side of the road. And he's changing out tires, and he's looking, and he's like, I never seen anything like this, man. Like a rim should never do that. Like, I don't even know, these places are making everything so cheap now. And, they're just not whatever. They're trying to just keep all the costs down, the very basic this, and he goes on about it, and he starts putting these tires back on, and he's like, I don't know, man, like, I'll check your bearings. He happened to have a bearing, I think, so he like gifted me a bearing because he was being a good guy. We wanted to try to replace the other tire just because I didn't feel comfortable at all, but as he's taking the tires off, like the hubs, I think they're called, they're like chiseled almost a little bit from however the tire was wobbling or whatever happened to it. So he's like, I'm telling you right now, like, this is to get you somewhere. This isn't like, hey, go on another trip with these tires. It's to get you somewhere. He checked out. He's like, these bearings, they don't seem right. They just, I don't know how this could have happened. Whatever. Just do your stuff. So, obviously I'm summarizing my best. So we now are throwing these tires in to the camper with our bikes and all our stuff. And because like I'm going, I never seen anything like this, but now I've spent $1,500 US to get these tires changed from this emergency roadside guy, and we actually don't continue on the highway. We get off and we take this little side road highway up along the lake into Darien Lake so that we can basically drive 50 the whole way, because I'm white knuckling it, scared as hell. But he put these tires on. He said, but we should be able to get somewhere to go, right? So all I'm thinking is, we got another few hours to get to this place. That's our last, 4 or 5 days of this trip. And then we got an hour to get home. And if I can just get back to Canada and talk to, the dealer and whatever, maybe this can be right, So we drive this thing slow and steady all the way to Darien Lake, and we get in and we park, and I never have done anything quite like that at the way my heart was pounding. And right now I'm smiling, but that's just all my nervous energy coming out, trying to relive and tell this story. So we spend our time at Darien Lake, and it's a wonderful time. And we're packing up, and I'm checking all the tires again, and I'm pulling out because I have a whole toolbox and ratchet set, and I'm doing what I can because I'm scared as heck to do this. We leave there. We're driving down the road, and we're getting on, I think it was the 90 or the 190 or something, right at the exit there, to go to the bridge. And I'm driving now, white knuckling it because I don't know, right? I get on the highway, and man, I'm like a minute down this highway, and I'm feeling the same kind of feeling, but I don't know if it's real or fake because I've been so afraid to drive this thing from the time that this originally happened. So I'm feeling it. I'm nervous. I'm feeling it. I'm just like, oh my gosh. So I pull over on the highway again, and I get out and I'm looking, and I get to the last tire that's actually the only original tire that I currently have, and the bearing in the inside of it is like broken out, and it's smoking. Like, I've only owned this thing for 2 or 3 months, right? And I know we took a long trip, but like nobody told me that it was going to fall apart. And not even like the thing itself, the thing that's carrying you, the thing that's going to kill you is falling apart like so rapidly. So I don't know what to do. So again, I spend the next hour on the phone calling places. I talked to one guy, and he says, maybe I can come out, but I guess there's only like one person that's even allowed to be licensed on the 90s or the 190s or whatever they are, so that they really get you, and it costs an absolute fortune. And he's telling me, look, if you can just creep that thing up, a couple miles and get off the highway, then I can come and help you. But I'm not allowed to work on the highway. And at this point, I don't want to spend $1,000 US. I just spent $1,500 US just to get off the road, right? And I'm losing my mind. This is when I actually called Grand Design in Beamsville themselves, and I'm like talking to the guy like, what the hell is going on, man? This is just the most ridiculous thing ever. My whole trip is just destroyed at this point because of what's going on here. Like, you've got to help me. And they're talking to Grand Design and sending emails like that's going to help me in any way. So eventually a cop shows up, and he was a super guy. I have to say, some of these American cops, they're way better than the Canadian ones, because he's like, look, man, you're only a minute from that ramp. I will drive and block traffic. If you think you can creep this thing, 10, 20 kilometers an hour, well, miles an hour, and there's a little turnaround right up ahead, and just go backwards to that stop, I will stop traffic and I'll get you there. So that's what we did. So now I've got a cop blocking traffic so I can creep onto the road driving, 20 miles an hour. Well, probably not, probably 20 kilometers an hour. Turning on this thing, coming around and going back to my exit that I just came from, and then pulling into the truck stop. So at this point, I've probably been doing this for 2 hours. I get to the truck stop and I call the guy that said he could come and help me. And at that point, he's like, man, I'm in the middle of something now because I didn't hear from you. So I'm not going to be able to help you. Well, it's like, I'm going to say like 3 in the afternoon. I don't know if that's correct or not. He says, like, pretty soon everywhere is going to be closed. I'm not going to be able to get you stuff, but I need a couple hours to finish the thing that I got to park right now. So I'm just begging him to help me. And at this point, I'm so emotionally exhausted. I just want to leave the camper on the side of the road and drive home. That's literally how I felt, but I don't know what the heck that is going to come from that. And I just bought this brand new thing. And the guy ends up calling me back. He says, look, there's a place about 3-4 miles from you up this road right here. And I talked to him, and he's the guy that I get all my parts and stuff from. He's a trailer guy, like whether it's horse trailers or travel trailer, whatever. That's what he does. He's like the guy of guys, and we all buy our parts from him. But I called him, and he said that if you come down, he'll fix you up. So now I've got this bearing seized. I've just creeped off the road. I've got to get this little extra distance. I'm driving on 3 tires that already have the hubs messed up. But I got to get there, right? So get everybody inside, and we're driving out, and we're creeping down the road, praying that we don't get pulled over or see cops. We get up to this turn. I turn around, and boy, as I'm driving down this thing 20 miles an hour, I just start hearing this like awful sound. So I roll down my window, and I'm trying to just ignore this thing. And I call this guy, and he says, yeah, it's just past this, just up the road. It's on our GPS now. We're close, right? We're driving. I'm looking at my mirrors. I am like as stressed as I could possibly be. And what happens? Another tire goes rolling off the camper. So I pull over again. I get out, and at this point, the hub is actually still attached to the tire on the road. I'm like picking this thing up, and I'm just like, I don't know what to do, right? I don't know how long it's going to take to get some sort of a tow truck. I never had any luck. The first time I'm 3 hours and 17 people. This time I'm 2 hours and a dozen phone calls. Like I have no idea how to get anyone to help me, right? All of the things I was told about how great all this, process is with our network and all this thing, none of that seemed to mean anything. So I'm just fending for myself and my family because we were about 40 minutes from being home. I call this guy back, and he says, well, how many tires you got on that thing? I said, I got 4. It's like a dual axle. He says, well, is the thing dragging on the ground? Because you're only a mile away from me. And I said, well, it's probably off the ground 4 or 5 inches, 3 inches. I don't know. He says, creep it here. The other axle should make it. So if you can imagine, I'm driving down the road, cars passing me because I'm going 20, with a tire missing that's in the back seat of my car with my kids, with the hub still attached to the tire, with 3 tires on my camper, trying to make it to a place and not frigging die. We pull in, and the guy's just like, well, you made it. And he's ready to help us. And he's comes in, and he's like, well, where's the hub? I said, it's still attached to the tire. I pull the tire out. I open up the thing. I set down the rigs. I pull all the other tires out, and he's looking at the stuff. He's like, man, I'd never seen anything like this. These places, I'm surprised none of them end up like getting sued. I can't believe they can still operate if this stuff happens. You're going to kill someone's family. And I said, yeah, mine. So he's going to fix my thing. I said, look, I got a spare tire too. I don't know what parts you got, but can I beg you to double check these other tires? Oh my gosh, my heart's beating so fast. So I'm going to summarize this thing because it was a long process. And so he changes up that tire, rips off the hub. He's like got 2 hubs in stock, because at this point things are closed by the time I get there. I think he can't order anything, and he has, I think, 2 hubs. So I think he replaces 2 hubs. He's tightening the one hub or the tire back on after, and he's like, look what's happening. And like the rim isn't going well. Like it's not torquing on. So he ends up taking off all the tires, and he's looking at these other hubs, and he's like, I don't know, these, they're chewed up. Like it's chewed into the materials. He's like, it's going to be on, it's going to be tight, but this is something to get you home. The same as the other guys. Like, I'm going to do my very best, and I'm going to make you leave here, and I'm going to make you leave here safe. So he's literally on the rims. He puts all the tires back on, takes my spare tire, puts that on to replace the other one, because that one, it just doesn't look right. And he's like, you can see, like as I'm tightening these bolts back on, that the rim is bending, like it's sinking in, like it's soft. So he's putting on these tires and then he gets the guy to go, and he says, well, I think I've got everything figured out now. Can you just torque all that stuff up? And I'm going to go in and do the bill with him. And the guy comes in while we're talking about the bill, and he says, you got to come out and look at this. So the new rims that are like a heavier gauge metal, assumingly, that were changed, he's like, I'm torquing these, and they torque out. They make the sound, they torque. But the spare tire rim, I can't get it to torque. Every time I turn it, the bolt just goes deeper and squishes the metal of the rim, and now it's indented. So he goes in and he's like, no. And he's starting to torque them, and he can't torque them because it just keeps threading deeper and bends the rim, and it's I can't even explain it. So he's now searching for more rims, and he's taking the existing tires off, and he's checking them, and he's now putting them on any rim that he has left over to make the tire, make him basically feel safe letting me leave there. And I go the whole other thing, and I get another $680 bill, US, again, just to do this work. And this guy, if we were on the side of the road, I can't even imagine, but he felt so bad for me. This bill was very generous, because it's like hubs, whatever he had in stock. He's giving me a rim. He's doing all this work. And he sends me out of there, and he says, look, this is my cell number. If you can't make it to the highway and you don't get into Canada, call me back. I feel like sick sending you out of here. We discussed just leaving the camper there and driving home, right? But who knows how that's going to go and what the warranty is. And like, honestly, I discussed, like, we're looking at these axles, and they're rated for 7,000 pounds. And this trailer is 6,400 pounds. And when you put all your stuff in it, you probably weigh 7,000 pounds. And he's like, I just hate how they push the very limit on every single thing. It's just not best. Why not just put on a little bit bigger of an axle? That axle comes with a little bit bigger of tire, which comes with a little bit bigger of brakes, and then you're better off. And I was literally at the point where he's like, yeah, it's probably like 3,000 US just to change that. I almost just left my trailer there and just said, make this safe, right? But I'm already into it for all this money. I've got this thing brand new. I've paid all this money for a warranty, right? And I don't feel like I should be dealing with all of this. My God. It's 2 months. So I creep this thing home. I creep it over the border, and I'm white knuckling it. It must have taken 2 years of my life for that hour and a half. And as soon as I get over the border, I'm going back roads every way that I possibly can. And we make it home. And it's like this joyous thing. We're literally praying together in this car as a family. And I know this video is long, and I get it, but imagine trying to write all this. So I parked this thing, and I told him, take every effing thing out of this camper, there's no chance in hell that I could ever step foot back in this thing or possibly ever drive a camper again. Because I can't even feel my hands still. So we cleaned the whole thing out, took every friggin' thing out of it, just about, except the new mattress we put in, and I parked it, and I never friggin' got in it again. And eventually, just because I wanted to avoid all of this, it was such a traumatic experience, I just couldn't even fathom that it happened. This brand new camper, I didn't want to buy something used, I didn't want to deal with someone else's problems, I just wanted to just have this awesome trip. And now I never want to get in a camper again. And I go to the dealer and I walk in with the first tire, and people are like, their faces are like staring at me. Is everyone okay? I've never seen anything like that. And I just said, I told them the whole story, and I said, I want you to just take this back from me, give me all my money back, so that it's like this never happened, and I'm going to try to forget this process. He says, well, I can't do that. You're going to have to come back when the owner's there. And it's already been a couple weeks because I just am so disturbed by I don't want to think about it. Just thinking about it makes me angry and scared, and I don't know how to describe it. You know, I'm not that emotional of a person. So another couple weeks goes by, and, you know, I come in and, you know, I've been through this process with talking to a lawyer. I've been through this process with going through all this stuff. And I thought I was being a good guy by just saying, take this from me, so it doesn't have to be worse, because I should never have had to live through this, and my family should never have had to live through this. I own a construction company, a small company. I drive small construction trailers. I need to go and drive one somewhere, and I hook it up to my pickup truck, and I put it on, and I'm not joking. I've never, ever been afraid of just about anything that I can remember in my life. And I was white knuckling it, driving my trailer that I've owned for 10 years, that's like a third of the size of this trailer. And I'm looking in the mirrors, waiting for the tires to fall off. I am so, like, completely affected by this thing that like, I can hardly even drive my own trailers. I'm like putting stuff in the back of my truck to drive places, you know, in the weather, because, like, you know, never ever discovered anything like this. People, I honestly make fun of people that say PTSD and all this stuff, and I say, well, you just got to grow up. You know, like you know, people go through stuff. You just got to get back on the horse and stuff like that. I never thought I'd be in this place. And I bought a brand new camper so I wouldn't be in this place. And I bought it from Grand Design because they bragged and told me. And the sales pitch was that their trailer is so much better. And they care so much more. And this was such a traumatic experience that I don't know if I'll ever be a camper guy again. And I got a 6-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 12-year-old, 13-year-old now. So, I guess the last point I can make, I get home and my mail, my mama lives with us, and there's a big pile of mail on the counter of the island, and because everything took so long at the dealer in the beginning, and because this process about getting the door on and everything dragged out and nothing was what they said it was going to be, I'm picking this thing up so late in the game and signing the papers so late, I actually get my welcome to Grand Design paperwork with the certain numbers and maybe things that could have been helpful along the way, but because that got delayed so badly, I didn't have any of this until I came home after this horrible event. And I wasn't getting emails of this guy who, once they finally came and picked up this vehicle, and I was told I was allowed to send it because we had done the things we need to do investigating it. Sorry, my heart's really beating fast. And I'm trying to just breathe through this. Anyways, I'm done with all this. This is my video. I was told that I wasn't getting an email. I guess it went to my junk, and I was told to make a little write-up to tell the dealer what happened so that they can figure out maybe some way to help, which is amazing. Because even in a warranty scenario, holy crap, I feel like the whole underneath of the thing should be changed. But outside of that, oh my gosh, what an event. That it took me, I'm looking at this timer, I've never made a video like this before, that this was 45 minutes long. It took me, so I don't know how I can possibly send this, but hopefully I can. And hopefully I don't have to think about this again, because it's taken years off my life. I did what you asked, and hopefully, if there's not a result of something that comes from this, I honestly think shame on you.